name is Tamara Chambers.
And I'm Cody Melcher.
I'm Jake.
And this is Tamara Just Saw.
And Cody also just saw two as well, Penny Wisely.
And I was there.
We just saw it together.
You got right to it.
Yeah.
It's humor. And this is the high-budget, story-based, character-driven horror film that I have been wanting forever and ever, and it was just so good. It was just so good.
Absolutely. Every time they weren't creeping us out majorly, they were building up a series of characters that we absolutely fell in love with.
Mm-hmm. Tell us, Cody. How terrified, how terrified were you?
Just threw you onto the fire.
Well,
here.
it's known that Cody is afraid of horror films.
Some horror films. I agree with the story part. This is a much better film, but Annabelle Creation was scarier.
Oh.
Right off the bat, when it turns from like Pennywise the Clown to like Teeth Clown, with Georgie, I was like, I'm not scared of this. There were some times where I think there was like a scary moment and I laughed. I think I was more scared of a lot of the human interaction than I was with actual clown interaction. The true demon clown was toxic masculinity.
Isn't it all?
That was the true demon clown in this movie.
Well, and that's a thing in horror films that you don't often get is good character work. It did a good job of keeping some cool elements of the miniseries, but it also just felt way better paced than the miniseries because you knew it was gonna be this movie. It wasn't gonna go into this 4-hour epic. So it felt better paced. It's like, all right, well then they each get their turn to see the thing, but it's not gonna be 30 minutes for each of them. It just felt a lot better in that regard.
A lot of the adaptations, the place they fall apart is by trying to like chop out so much story to try and cram it all into like 2-ish hours. By just tackling the children's story, they nailed it.
Yeah.
And all of these kids, the kid from Stranger Things plays the character of Richie, the wise ass, and he was exceptional. Such
a different character from Stranger Things, just tackled it and was amazing.
And foul-mouthed and hilarious, and he was the jackass in every group of friends.
Yeah.
I am just obsessed with
Beverly.
Beverly Marsh was a badass queen, and we must protect her at all costs, but she doesn't need to be protected because she's incredible.
My favorite was the little sick sad one. That was my
Eddie? Eddie's your spirit animal? The kid who played Ben was so exceptional. Like, he was sincere, and he was the goofy, clumsy kid, but without being a fool.
Yes.
Like, he didn't play the fool card ever. He always had his own sense of pride, even when he was being pushed up against a fence with a name getting carved into his stomach.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
What a good observation. That's
no, because library kids roll hard. Library kids roll hard. Library kids roll hard.
They do.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I agree with you about the initial Pennywise interaction. Everybody who's seen the trailer knows what we're talking about in the sewer grate.
Or the miniseries. Yeah. It's the first time you see Pennywise.
So that interaction felt very true to the book. He was like, he was joking with Georgie. Georgie seemed a little too like into it for me. It wasn't super scary.
Yeah.
And that whole, like, it was awesome to see a little tiny child have his arm ripped off.
Yeah, it was awesome. Okay, because like the teeth come out and I was like, not scary, but then the arm gets ripped off and I was like, on board.
Yeah, some of the moments with it where it's just weird and kind of like, I liked that kind of stuff, but this movie had a hard time tone-wise with scary versus like kind of cheesy or just like off.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't agree.
Okay. well, it was a pleasure. Goodbye.
But this is what we were saying about like Dark Tower as well. Like I go into things and I'm just like, that was amazing, great.
I don't know if it's every movie, but watching a horror movie sitting next to her is a pure pleasure. When something scary would happen, she'd be so into it that right afterwards, right after the tension break, when everyone's kind of like settling back into their seats, she would be like, and then she would be like, God, this is awesome.
Yeah, I almost flicked her off a couple of times. There were some scary moments. I'm just saying that it wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. It's the problem of like showing too much of the monster that always happens. Where it's like there were several sequences where it was like, okay, if you had stopped it there, it would have remained terrifying. You went a little too far, and then it suddenly just became too this is also the problem with CGI, where it suddenly becomes too CGI.
Right.
And you're like, I'm very aware now that this is CGI.
I think a lot of it for me was because it was a clown. Like in the miniseries, Tim Curry is like, he portrays it in a very comical way, and so this, I think some of the funniness for me came in like some awkward, like scary clown that is just like doing really weird things.
Yeah.
And so I kind of felt it was
Right.
more that than like an awkward thing for me.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm not afraid of this clown.
Right.
Well, I'm glad. You were terrified to go. So this is good.
still-
This is a good thing.
Even in those weird moments and those scary moments, or even when the moments were like super scary, the fact that we were so attached to the kids really pulled us into the drama of the
Right.
moment. And they also chose to like really focus on like only a few of the kids instead of trying to focus on all of the group.
Yeah.
And even though those few kids who got shortchanged have very interesting stories in the book, like by not focusing on them, they didn't spread us too thin.
Right. And maybe I built it up too much in my head that I was going to be more afraid than I was. And then when I walked out of it not as afraid as I was with Annabelle Creation, I'm like, okay, well maybe the clown wasn't that scary.
For me, in the horror department, it was so well spaced in between the story and in between everything that it wasn't just in Annabelle Creation. It was like you were in this. It was a clear-cut horror film.
Sure.
Where this is like shrouded in character work and story.
And there were only a few moments where, like, a few cliche-ish moments where they'd be like, it wants to tear us apart, you know?
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that
yeah,
was
that-
always going to be in there.
Right.
I mean, you always need that moment, and they just went for the easiest way, which is the normal way.
Right. It does really piss me off when in horror films people go into a dilapidated building without a plan.
Yeah.
That was my
Come
big
on,
problem with the first
Just
time.
say
the first
what
time.
your plan is.
Just have a plan.
There was no
Just
plan.
one.
Just
It was also, for me, it was also super weird, and I know they're kids. Look, I didn't talk to kids when I was growing up, so I don't know what they're like, but it was so weird to me that none of their individual stories ever came up until like way late in the movie. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. If a weird painting woman tried to attack me, I would have mentioned that uptight.
Well, and especially with unpopular kids, though, which all of these kids were outside of this one
Right.
group, like, you aren't going to be the first one to say it.
And that was
Yeah.
how they did it in the miniseries. Is that how it was in the book?
Right. I don't, yeah.
It
But,
was.
yeah.
This is the thing that everyone points out. They didn't do it in the miniseries, obviously. They didn't do it in this, and no one's ever going to do it. And and everyone always kind of is like, oh, I love the book, except. And the thing is,
And it's not the hobo?
it's not the hobo. It's not the ho blowjob. It's the you might have.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't know if we can say blowjob. We can say hobo. I can't say blowjob.
We can say blowjob.
Okay.
After everything that happens with the kids in the movie, Beverly has sex with all of them. One after the other, they go to her and she has sex with them. And it's kind of a rite of passage thing, end of childhood into adulthood kind of thing. It's like that's the metaphor he was going for, but it just feels weird in the book.
And that's what you missed on Glee.
I'm glad they didn't bring.
No. There's no way to do it. There's no way to
Nor should there
translate that.
Right.
No.
No.
Because it's totally inappropriate, and that's not who Beverly is any of the rest of the time.
For sure.
Yeah. What I'm very glad about is that they did lean into the whole history of Derry's town with bigotry and racism and bullying.
Yes.
Because the whole book embodies bullying.
Mm.
Whereas sometimes a lot of adaptations are just like, give me the monster. Let's keep it supernatural.
I haven't read the book, but I did see the miniseries, and I am interested to see what they change about the adult section of the story. Just with things that happened in this film, I'm interested to see how it changes that kind of timeline. I'm gonna go ahead and rate it 7 gallons of blood in the bathroom out of 7 Beverly Marshes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Perfect
Okay.
score.
Yeah.
I will give it 4.5 Pennywise the Dancing Clowns.
Okay.
Great.
Out of 5, Ben is my absolute heart song.
Fair. That's
Beautiful.
fair.
I'm gonna give it 3 Georgies out of 5 porgies, pudding, and pies.
Okay.
Excellent.
Ben made me cry a little bit at the end.
Okay.
Yeah. And then when I was telling you that outside the theater, I almost started crying again.
You did. Yeah. Yeah. That a horror movie could create that is so cool to me. I think that's the coolest thing.
I was really into it.
Me too.
That's how you're like in the theater.
I'm just so excited.
Yeah.
Where can they find you, Jake?
Pineapple Boy Films on YouTube. And come see Tamara in the time lapse of the Hellraiser Night Marathon.
Bye. Bye.